Welcome to Crosstalk. Yesterday, the global community marked the International Day of Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation, a day set aside to speak out, to raise awareness, and to say clearly that this practice has no place in our societies.
Once a young girl has gone through FGM, they feel she's ready to go for marriage.
The people who've undergone it don't recommend it, and they are the first people on the forefront of fighting it. So it can't be a good thing.
I'm a father of Anga. I cannot support such an issue that is overtaken by time.
FGM pia kwa kitamaduni nyingi wanafanyia kama kinyama.
Today we want to go beyond the headlines and continue that conversation, because zero tolerance is not a one-day statement. It is a daily commitment. We want to speak about the realities, the consequences, and most importantly, the way forward. In 2011, Kenya passed a law that made female genital mutilation illegal. Yet despite this ban, the practice is still happening in our country. So the question is, why does FGM persist? And how do we move from awareness to real change? You can be part of this conversation. Our SMS line is 0786 316 316, which is equally the WhatsApp line. You can be part of this conversation trying to answer that question. Why does FGM continue to persist in our communities? This conversation is made possible courtesy of CRAWN Trust, Community Advocacy and Awareness Trust. It is a women-led non-state actor established in 2010, committed to advancing inclusive governance, gender equality, and economic justice, together with Christian Aid. Joining me on set today is Ndiilai Lesopiroi. Yes, you got me right. He's a dedicated lawyer from Samburu North, a passionate advocate for girls' rights and women's empowerment. He champions gender equality and works to ensure that girls have access to education, safety, and the freedom to pursue their dreams. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Also with us is Sharon Naserian, a human rights defender and outspoken advocate against female genital mutilation. Our work focuses on empowering women and youth within the Samburu community, and she currently serves as the Samburu County Coordinator at CRAWN Trust. Karibu.
Thank you.
Also with us in studio is a team of gender champions, aspiring leaders of this country, and young women who are ready to engage with us in this conversation. Thank you for making time. I'll start with you, Sharon, because this year's theme towards 2030, no end to female genital mutilation without sustained commitment and investment. What does this mean in reality or simple terms?
Generally, we are not on track to end. We are not track to end the FGM by 2030 because of the short-term fundings and the one-offs campaigns. That FGM needs a long-term investment and sustainability. I think that's a plain in a layman's language, about the end of 2030 FGM. So we are not really on track.
What is the prevalence now that we want to reduce to zero?
According to the last survey by the Kenya Demographic Health Survey, the prevalence has gone a little bit lower, if you look at it gradually. But it now stands at around 50%. But it also varies according to ethnic extractions. For example, where I come from, the rate is at 86%, the prevalence. In places like Garissa, 94%. And then there's a lower prevalence in places like Nyanza, where they don't practice FGM. So for me, I just concur with her that indeed we are still behind. Yeah.
So when you talk about 86% prevalence in a country where a law was already passed in 2011 to ban this and make this illegal, what does that mean?
You know, through passing a law, like you can pass a law, but you don't enforce it. That's the difference. We have laws, but there are so many people who are still practicing. Over 200 million women still suffering, I think, globally, sorry. And we're going to experience millions more women if it's not enforced. FGM needs enforcement. And we need to put an enforcement law and then follow it up. We cannot just put a law there. It's like promising. It's a promise. It's not protection.
Can we legislate culture?
You see, the biggest clash here is between culture and the law. And according to the law, when culture is inconsistent with the Constitution of Kenya, then it's not supposed to be considered as good culture. Now, you see, if you try to look at it keenly, where the prevalence is now high, specifically places like northern Kenya, northeastern Kenya, if you try to look at those places, they are still marginalized. So even the criminal justice system cannot work properly. For example, the distance between probably where the offense has occurred and a police station and the courts, that's logistically very impossible to also implement a case like that. Again, as far as these people are very conservative, you know, people from these regions, as much as they go to school, they are very conservative in matters culture. So they'll formulate ways of doing these things under the radar. Yeah.
Sharon, does it mean that we can never legislate it? It's something that we just need to accept that it is with us?
No, for me, I think we can. It just needs persistence. It just needs government to intervene, because you can't go and try to uproot a norm that has been rooted for generations and generations. You need to have a very strong hold or a pull to make sure that you're trying. It will end. FGM will end, but then it won't end by you saying you've put a law and then you just go and sit in parliament and say no FGM. You have to go to these communities that have been practicing it for ages. That is, I think, for me, I think it can be done, but with more persistence and a lot of sustainability and commitment.
All right. Yeah. Let me bring in Immaculate here. Immaculate, because you come from anti-alternative rite of passage. Will it end in our generation?
Oh, I would say that for the Gen Zs, this is past the doing, because it has already happened. If a law was passed in 2011 and the Gen Zs are up to 2012, most of them have undergone the cut. Apart from the ones that I think, maybe one of them when I was young, maybe from high school, you've been initiated to the program of the alternative rite of passage, where you're empowered as women, you're empowered as young girls, that there is other ways to make sure that you're somewhere up the top without this cut, and you need to get your confidence back even when the society is fighting you. So most of them, I think, for this generation, maybe now when we talk of the alpha that is coming up, these are the kids that we can fight for. And still, the alpha generation, it has already happened. Nowadays, they tend to do it so low, and they do it when they're so young. Now they tend to take them to the hospitals, Now it's even getting worse, because if doctors can do that, if people who are learned, people who know the law, and they should know that they should abide and they know the consequences, but these people still do it. They do it. They do what is not right. So if we are the ones that are getting educated, I am the Immaculate that went to school. I have gone through the alternative rite of passage program, and now I am a doctor. But I am the same Immaculate that takes cash to give these kids what is not supposed to be done. So it will really take time, because for me, I thought education would change all this. As leaders, you might intervene. You might ask why it happened. You might take it to the law. But at the end of the day, it will come back to you in a backlash, a very bad thing. So now the society comes in. Why are you intervening? Why are you taking us to the law? Why are you taking us to the police? Is it your kid? Now it's a personal decision again. So even leaders sometimes tend to withdraw because they don't get the support. They are taken, and you hear that person is out again on bail, on anything. So I think it will take time. I don't know how long, but we are trying to fight it.
Why do these communities still practice FGM?
FGM has always been there in communities, in so many communities. So FGM is like part of the community. So for practicing FGM, they see as if they still have the upper hand in their culture and their cultural practices. For instance, in the Samburu community, there is a time we went for a certain training, and we were seated with like really older women, and one woman who was seated there woke up, and she was telling us a story about a woman who was almost 50 years old, and she had given birth to, I think, 3 kids, and then she's never been circumcised. But whenever she hangs out with her peers, there's always a certain, what do we call it? A certain stereotype. There's something, there are some comments they would say, like, you're not a woman enough, you're an outcast. And that woman had to go back and be done FGM. So you see, hey, at 50 years old, you can imagine going through FGM because you want to belong to a community.
It gives you identity.
It gives you identity, yeah.
They say that it is the Morans who pushes this culture. It is done for the man.
There's a conflict between culture, modernization, and the law. If you look at the Anti-FGM Act of 2011, vis-a-vis the cultural aspects of these people, and you know, culture is way of life. These people are still stuck in the era whereby their culture supersedes everything else. So for them, identity comes first. You must first of all do whatever the community does so that you can respect the law. Now, how do we bridge this gap? Instead of enforcing the law forcefully, let us get deeper into the community. Let them be aware of the law. Let them be aware about culture in 2 ways, negative culture and positive culture. Yeah.
Nabire, do you think we use the right language to create awareness that the communities understand, or even girls and women?
I think what they're saying about persisting is quite accurate, because here in the urban areas, we find it a bit like it's an old tradition. To them, they understand it much better. And speaking to the people from there, it requires a person who goes there and makes sure that everything is done according to how the people perceive it and what ways they can use to get closer to the point of action. Yeah, so I think the way having such trusts of organizations which advocate for no FGM is it requires persistence, and I think they know what's best and how to communicate about it.
You've been in the county government, you are still aspiring to be a member of parliament. Where is the place of political goodwill?
What I can say on law enforcement, like in most of the county assemblies, things are slow. You can pass a law in January and it will be enacted maybe from January the following year. As leaders, we do our part. We pass the law. Maybe we shout, say no to FGM, activists come out and say all that. But now look at the communities that are practicing this. What is their take? That is culture. Culture is part of their life. Most of them don't take it seriously. So even as the Western counties, when we shout about it, we want to be backed up by these communities that are practicing it.
So it's an issue of goodwill, right from the community point.
Yeah.
Yes.
What are some of the harmful consequences of it?
It destroys education. I think it destroys education. Let me put it like that, because most of the girls, after most of the time in the communities, in the marginalized communities, after one has gone through FGM, they tend to, now they are ready for marriage. You don't even have the confidence to go back to school anymore, because there's a part of you, and you know, we are created in God image. Every single part of your body has its own function. So for instance, whenever you remove a finger, or whenever you cut, there's some confidence or there's some lower self-esteem that you will get there. But apart from that, even most of these people who practice the FGM, or the elders, whenever you cut, it's like they're preparing you for marriage. Yeah. Now you're a woman enough.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because we live in a patriarchal society, and most of the times, men tend to drive the agenda. What is the role of men in dealing with FGM and fighting it?
Actually, men play a very pivotal role in the prevalence of FGM, or rather on the eradication of FGM. You know, because where there is FGM, if you go back and get to the gist of the story, it is men who are so much inculcated in their culture that in the event of getting married, they'll marry someone who has undergone FGM. So they precondition someone already. Again, since it's a cultural practice, for example, where we come from, it is almost like a taboo for someone not to get married without undergoing the act. As he said, you see now an old woman who is almost 50-something years, you have to undergo the cut again. That is because as much as it's women who are pressuring you, even your husband back at home, he supports that. Yeah, so we play a very big role in matters of FGM. That is a negative way. Yeah.
It looks like it is men who needs to have education and awareness than women, right?
Weirdly, to come to think about it nowadays, I feel like even women are more cruel when it comes to that. But I don't know if I'm right, but I find like more women push their kids to get circumcised. I don't know, there's something about it, but women also play a big part in it. Those are the same people who are supposed to protect you, but because they have gone through that process, their mothers have gone through that process, their grandmothers have gone through that process, they can't imagine having a daughter who has not gone through that process. So most of the time, the pressure comes from also the women, not the men alone. The men, it's very easy to convince a man not to do something. You just need to sit down, create trust, and make sure they understand you. And you know the way the fathers love their daughter. So there is one person who I feel like it's easy to convince is the male in this situation. But the women, when the women make a decision, it's that decision or you go. So I feel like even women play a bigger role.
What's your take on that?
Thank you. Before I answer that, let me inform the forum. After the FGM Act of 2011, there's a lot that has taken place. The fourth president, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, he declared Kenya a zero zone for FGM. And I remember then, after that, before his term came to an end, there followed a lot of laws, especially that which were passed by the county governments. Go back to records and you find most of them, they have laws, they have policies, very good policies. We keep on asking ourselves the same question. Why does FGM persist even after that? When we look at, even before then, the 202 Children Act of Kenya, it's against harmful cultural practices to children, and one of them is FGM. I mean, is it about the laws? Is it about our culture, as we are saying? What else is contributing to this? Is it about the identity? We are talking about identity. I come to your question. Is it women or men who are contributing to this? For me, I'll say both. I remember in 2003, 2004, I was in Bomas 2 and 3, lighting for a paper known as Yawezekana, Safeguarding Women Gains in the Draft Constitution. I met this member of parliament for Samburu, may his soul rest in peace. And we were just talking as journalists and having a talk, and we asked him, your two beautiful daughters, are they going to go through the cut? And our friend told us outrightly, yes. And we were like, we felt like, oh no, it cannot be. And he told us, yes, it's going to be. Why? And he told us, like for instance, Wamboi, my girls, I have to be accepted politically back in Samburu. My girls have to be accepted back in Samburu. And we were like, but they are not there, Mheshimiwa. They are even here in Nairobi. Why do they have to go through it? So you see, for him, it's about where does he belong? He belongs to the Samburu. And he need the votes. He need the acceptance even of the daughters. And as he was saying, even to make them marriageable. At the same time, as we talk about, I said it's two-way. It could be a men issue. It could be also women issue. And then also this guy was also, this about votes. Am I going to miss the votes because my girls have not gone through the cut? How is the society going to take me going further? Is it a woman issue? On the side of it being a woman issue, she talked about, an identity. We want to belong. Women want to belong. Our children want to belong. And that's why they have to undergo through that. We have had incidences of women who even go through the cut during the time of giving birth. I mean, they go through double pain, and it has to happen. I mean, we have had, especially some of them who undergo very severe forms of FGM, and they have to go through reconstruction after giving birth. I mean, they cannot control their bowels out of that. And we keep on asking ourselves, is the pain necessary? I mean, what is this culture we are talking about? But even if it has gone, the severity has decreased, it's yet very far from being eradicated. And until we get to a point that we decide it's not worth it. And again, when we look at the nature, the metamorphosing nature of FGM, it has changed. It's no longer celebrated during the school holidays as it used to be. It's now very private, in our houses, in our homes, very medicalized, you know? So how can we stamp it out of those very hidden corners in our families, in our society? You know, starting from our very small families to the nuclear families. So I think we still have some miles to go, but legally, law-wise, I assure you the country is covered, even to the county levels. I've interacted with this and I know that. Wow. Thank you.
What do you have to contend with as a crusader in the community?
You can't go to the community, especially me being a girl or Samburu, you cannot go into the community saying like you should stop FGM. There's this thing called, how do we say it in our language? Laana.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. You can be, it's very easy for them to laana you.
Curse you.
Curse you, sorry. Sorry. To curse you. So there are some things I myself cannot go and fight alone, you know? And if you say, for instance, I cannot go and fight alone, especially me being a girl. It needs some serious law enforcement for me to fight such an act. I can speak when I'm here, which if we don't do anything, we are going to be having so many conversations on FGM and nothing will change. We'll just be having talks and talks and talks.
What pushed you to be a defender of girls and women?
I have experienced girls who have gone through FGM. I've seen the severe, some who have lost their lives. And when you ask me the benefits of FGM, I have never seen. Because in our culture, they say, once you're done FGM, you won't be promiscuous. They are the most promiscuous women. So I do not see the benefits. The only thing, it brings pain. And it brings pain in our girls. And I don't see the benefit. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you have to contend with as a boy child, fighting for the rights of girls and women within the Samburu?
It's difficult because if you come from a very conservative community, look at it from this perspective. From 2011, 2014, since the promulgation of since the enactment of the Anti-FGM Act, there have been 71 cases. 38 were withdrawals, 4 were withdrawals, 38 were acquittals, and 16 were convictions. So it tells you a thing. What does the law do about these cases? Nothing really, because if you look at Article 29 of the Anti-FGM Act, it says that the maximum or imprisonment can be only 3 years or a maximum fine of 200,000. So if I jail you for 2 years or 3 years, you'll just come out then after some time. But you see now how we treat robbery with violence is supposed to be the same way we're treating FGM. As he said, let's enforce it. If now they don't want the negotiations and the dialogue, so that you can tell them that this is negative culture, this is positive culture, that you can go bare knuckle, using the government.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me hear from Mheshimiwa here.
Maybe just to conclude on this, as we continue with this fight, not with this, with the eradication of FGM.
In fact, it's a fight.
It is.
Listening to these stories.
It is. Can we also get statistics? Maybe because of the nature of the climate, we are not able, we don't have, there's a time in this country we used to have statistics of the numbers, of course, it has gone private. It has been medicalized. But can we be consistent in keeping records of how many what is the nature?
The last survey that was done, what I have, Kenya Demographic and Health Survey of 2022, says that the national prevalence of FGM among women aged 15 to 49 is about 14.8%.
Yeah,
but that varies again as communities. Like you were saying, 86% in Samburu, that's just one region.
Yeah, so we need to keep this data, these figures consistently, yeah? So that we can have something tangible to argue from. Yeah, thank you.
All right.
We should have civic education, and we should have it on the ground. You know, sometimes they just say this civic education, but they don't go on the ground, on the original people. Also, in our family, there's one of my sister who got married to those tribes. She went through a lot. And I remember it was her mother-in-law was fighting against her. She has to be circumcised. So my sister went through a lot, even though her husband was with her, but her mother-in-law was not with her. So we should have civic education to those women's, first women's, then men's, because women's are the one that has that. Yeah, they really like, they should, when her son brings a woman at home, it should be like her. So this civic education should start with those women first.
Do you think as we are creating awareness, we are using the right language to communicate to these women who practice it? Maybe just for...
Yes, we are using the right language, but the wrong audience. We are focusing more on the women rather than both of the genders. It's a two-way traffic. According na vile Sharon amesema, yeye akienda kwa community yake hata sikizwa. That is because she is a lady. But if we involve more men into the conversation, it's going to be an easier task, and the eradication will be there, because for marginalized communities like Samburu and the Maasai, they'll probably hear the man's voice more than the lady's voice. So if we involve more men in the conversation and watusaidie kueneza hii injili, trust you me, it's going to be a much easier sale than the women taking the lead alone. Yeah.
Ruth, what's your take? Listening to all these stories, and we are talking about zero tolerance by 2030.
Ili jambo ni ngumu, lakini inatakikana kabisa, yani huwezi sema tu bila kutenda. Ndakana waende mpaka kwa jamii zenyewe, kwa hizo family. Kwa sababu unaweza pata vile mwanadada amesema pale, msichana anapotea for almost 1 week, which means wanamkeketa alafu anafichwa kwa nyumba. Sasa ni wenyewe. Mimi hapo naomba serikali, hata si serikali tu, hata through Murkomen, watumie ile nyumba 10. Sababu nyumba 10 ndio ufikisha kwa sub chief. Sasa nyumba 10 ndio anajua hiyo. Sasa watumie hiyo kabisa, sababu ni ngumu. Kwa sababu wenyewe kwa wenyewe wanafichana. Sasa ni ngumu kabisa, na itabidi serikali itie bidii. Kwa sababu kule kama Baringo, mimi nilioleka Baringo, nikazaa watoto wangu kule mahali inaitwa Mogotio, but family ilikuwa mpaka kule mbele. So niliona mashemeji wangu wengi wenye wamefanyiwa hilo tendo. Wakati wa kuzaa wawili, they go through operation. Alafu sasa tena unakuta yani wanadhalilishwa, yani ukishafanywa hilo tendo kwa hizo kabila, vile niliona hizo Baringo huko, niliona yani mwanamke masomo inaishia pale. Uwezi endelea na masomo. Haya, kitu kingine wewe unawekwa ni kuchunga mbuzi na ng'ombe. Nilikuwa naona tu anaruka na mbuzi na ng'ombe wasomi. Ukishakeketwa, you are a woman enough to get married and to look after your family. Hivyo ndio wanaamini hivyo.
When you talk to your fellow men, what are they telling you?
For those who have gone to school now of late, that is of late.
Not the alphas, the Gen Zs.
let's say both of them. As of late now, as they keep advancing, because now these places where we come from, in as much as we are so much backward, so much behind over the years, we're trying now to catch up with the rest of Kenya. So if you talk to these ones who have gone to school, they are quite receptive of the message. They are positive. But you see now, if you go get those people in the village who are doing shukas there, they have guns, it is difficult. Yeah, it's difficult because they are still in another world. They are still in a primitive world whereby such things are very, very, since it's a patriarchal society, they are the ones who control everything. So they wouldn't want to do away with this culture because they believe it's the correct thing to do.
A girl child is always at risk, either way, because of the Morans. And the Morans from our community, they cannot be punished. I think they are above the law.
They're second to God, they say that.
Yeah, they're second to God. So they can come to your houses, take your food, do whatever they want to do and leave. And there's nothing. You cannot report it to the chief. The chief is the Samburu, is Mzee, akona Morani. So it's a bit difficult for a girl in this age or in this era to live around. And then, in Zamani, in our parents and our grandparents' era, it was not a big deal for Morans to invade your privacy, if I may say, in a very layman's language or polite. So for us, a lot of girls are not safe anyway.
Girls are not safe.
Yeah.
Is it that the world is also blind to what is happening? We are just marking these days. They are just calendar days to be celebrated, but nothing tangible on the ground. As we are saying, we need to go to the community down on the ground. Instead of going through the streets of Nairobi and carrying banners, let's go to Samburu, let's go to Pokot, let's go to Masailand.
I think you're so very right saying that probably we are targeting the wrong environment, the wrong community. And the people who are really suffering are not even getting to hear of this campaigns we are doing about this FGM. So that being said, I know we always say the government, unfortunately, but I believe a budget should be, at least some budget should be set aside, to facilitate us being able to go into the ground, the grassroots, to try and talk to these people. And like they're saying, yeah, it's true, it's going to take a while, because now you can imagine, because I used to think probably when you're educated, you'd have a different mindset. But hearing that even those of us who are educated will still do it, but now, secretively, it's discouraging. I mean, it's disappointing. So we will continue, the campaign will continue, but it should really focus the ground. And like they said, both the men and the women should be engaged, etc.
What do you think in terms of justice? We are just talking about the number of people that are acquitted, even having been found to have committed the act.
If that person is jailed for a maximum of 2 years, he or she will have the courage to embark on what he did from the past. That gives him the courage to continue what he did, but not reduce what he was doing. So the person is not learning. It's just giving him or her the courage to continue it. If you tell a girl that if you get circumcised, you'll be a woman, that's not just, you're playing with her psychology, like her mental stability. That's showing that if she needs to be a woman, she needs to be circumcised. We still need to talk about the mental stability of the girl, because what will that do to her mentally? She might be depressed, she might be stressed, she might have anxiety. Reason being, she was done FGM.
You see, most of our communities that practice FGM don't even understand there's something that is called mental health. If you try and go and tell, like saizi, you go to our community and say, you need to go to a counselor. Kama hizo ni ugonjwa za wazungu, why are you telling me? Ugonjwa wa wazungu. Bana mtu ako sawa. And that affects, and you never know how mental health actually attacks you. You might think you're okay, but you are slowly going down, like everything, you're slowly getting depressed. So for some, even when you say criminalizing the perpetrators, I don't think that's effective. These are people you need to go and untrust build trust and keep educating them and educating them and educating them. Kuwaletea polisi. You know, these people don't care. They really don't care. You have to be more civil with them. Sit down, build trust, and keep having multiple conversations and making them understand the negative effects of FGM. But criminalizing them, I don't think that's an effective way of ending FGM. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yes.
I feel like tukiwa criminalize ita take place na ita happen. Juu, let's take for example vile maandamano ilikuwa. Watu wanaenda kwa streets wanaribu biashara za wasi. And at the end of it, makarau wanawapiga. Unapata weka ulipigwa utarudi hapo. Na ukirudi, it's either uabductiwe ama ufungwe ndani. So the same way, the 2 years ni kidogo. Na the same way tunatake kuharibu mali ya watu kwa maandamano very serious. Tunafaa kuteki matters very serious. 2 to 3 years. Mse ataka alienda huko ndani akafanywa hizo vitu mbaya, atarudi nile hasira vile Mwamba amesema, na ata increase kitu yenye sisi tunajaribu kupunguza. So na tena fine hiyo bail yake iongezwe. I feel like in as much as tunaongelelea kwenda kuwakalisha chini, wanafaa kujua usipofanya hii alternative ni hizi miaka. Uambe bana, ukikataa kusikia ni miaka mbao. Kataa kusikia hii ndio fine unatolewa, because FGM haina faida yoyote. It only takes that lady to a place, a very dark place. Self-esteem imeenda chini. Everything imeenda chini. Anafikiria maisha ya kukua mama na si maisha yake personally. So, in as much as tutaenda kwa ground, 20 years.
20 years and above. I think here from a boy, as much as we are fighting this, very few understand it from a point of this is human rights violation.
The fight against FGM, as the much I've done in my work, I've always approached it from a human rights violation. I'm not, I mean, even the people who are here, who are working in that field, mostly our approach is mostly from the human rights perspective, because you're violating the right of a child. You're violating the right of a woman, a mother. And even when you look at the genesis of the laws we have, they are either coming from the international level, the conventions, the UN conventions. Then they are coming even to the African level. Like, for instance, the Children Act, it's coming from what the African Charter on the Rights of the Child, and then it comes down now to the Kenyan law, the Children Act of 2001. So all of these, they are coming from a human rights perspective. For me, I don't think it's the fact that we are not putting in the human rights aspect per se. What it is, this is a cultural practice, which mostly the patriarchs of the society, who are men, are not willing to let go. And listening even to the mood and the discussion in the house, they have been taught. We have even had defenders, men who are against FGM. Yet, after the good teachings, they go and it's done. And it's not that men do not know about it. It's not that women do not know about it, or they don't know that it's wrong. They know, but yet it continues. And now, as we have agreed today, it's even becoming very serious, because it's being done very much in the private spaces. When we are talking about a tribe or an ethnic community, the people, they are more loyal to the ethnic community than to the geographical boundaries. And what do I mean by this? You find that the cooliers from Kenya, they will cross over to Tanzania. The girls and the women, they undergo FGM, because it's not that Tanzania doesn't have a law. It's there and very severe. But they know, they will say that akufanyiwa hiyo kitu hapa, alienda that other side. So this has also really contributed to the FGM, and maybe we need cross-border engagement. Because Kenya, there is a strict law The girls, they will be taken close to Somali and they will undergo the cut. So this also has really contributed a lot to the efforts towards eradication of FGM. And I think as we have collaborated in so many other areas, areas of business, cross-border trade, areas of peacekeeping, why not try it this time?
Yeah, because the cross-border was going to be a conversation, but I'm happy that you brought it up. Okay. But then that leads me to the next question. As we are fighting FGM, Immaculate, then what are the alternatives that are being provided to the community as rites of passage, mostly for the girl child?
The alternative rite of passage is one of the beneficiaries. I went to school. I saw light at the end of the tunnel. I came to realize even if I had cousins, sisters who underwent that, I'm lucky that I didn't. And I'm lucky that whoever was behind me didn't get it. And why? Because I saw the light. I talked to my dad. I told my mom, Mom, I'm not ready. These are the disadvantages. Even if you went to school halfway, Mom, what really is the benefit of this thing? Coming to that, the thing to me is, why do we keep saying that this is for identity? What is this identity? To me, that leads me to marriage. We are only getting the cut for marriage, to be ready for marriage. If not, what else? Yeah? It's only for that because, I expect you, Emma, to be married by this year. 5 years down the line, you'll be married. To a Maasai guy, who will marry you without the cut? If you marry a Samburu, we are one. Who will marry you without the cut? Yeah? But if I marry a Kikuyu, that is even a taboo first, me going to the Kikuyu. But now if I go to a Kikuyu, a Kyuk is okay with me. Akamba is, Aluya is, but they are giving us a boundary to live in. These people have already given us limit. They have so much they have this, how do we say? It's like they own us. You need to be somewhere we want you to be. But they forget that these generations are changing. Your kids will not be like you. You've taken me to school. Mom, do you expect me to exactly live how you've lived? But because these kids were given the cut while they were early, they do not even know what decisions to make. So the alternative rite of passage, we were getting mentorships, we were getting trainings. We really, our confidence came back. We will now walk group of girls, we're not circumcised. And if they tell us something, we give them the clapbacks. We don't care, We already know that it's of no reason to get that cut. What are you telling me? I'm okay. I'm proud for you to call me a girl. For Maasai, you're told, you're not a woman. You're just a girl. You're not cut. You're nothing to the society. And now when you have the awareness, you've undergone that, you're confident to say, yes, I am not cut, and I am proud that I am not cut, and I don't hide my identity anymore. I am a Maasai. If without the cut is the reason why you're going to push me away, you push me away. At the end, now they are starting to accept one by one. I can tell that, okay, it's not as much as it was before, but now it's because also we can know how it's done down there. You can't realize who has done that, who has not. Now because everyone is shut, kidogo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good work she's doing in the community, right? She deserves some. But men are the biggest threat, right? As we are coming towards a close, how do we move forward?
It's very simple. Look at how we treat sexual offences acts. How very severely, right? If you defy like a kid right now, you'll end up in prison for many years. But for me, giving me 3 years because of FGM or 200,000 fine, and the only time you can jail me for life is if the act has already resulted into death. I mean, that is because it's clearly spelled out under Article 29 of the Anti-FGM Act. You see now, you're making it so light, and in real sense, this is a very heavy offense. So we should make it more harder for these people to not to be acquitted again. And yes, we can go for 20 years or so, 25, 30.
For me, I feel like we already have the tools to end FGM. We just need the skill and continuity, yes, and persistence as well. Yeah, because and engagement, dialogue with the community. Again, for me, I will always stick to dialogue and having trust with the communities.
I want to take our last comments on this subject. Maybe I'll start with you, as you have the mic as we go this way.
As a young girl, I'm afraid for myself, and I'm also afraid for others. So I'll just embark on educating both genders for the correct meaning. Yes.
Okay, for me, I've learned a lot actually. I thought we were going downwards on eradicating it, but for the regions I've seen the highest numbers, I'm too shocked. Yeah, so the thing I've grasped a lot in this conversation is it's important to combat it on all angles, the civil side and also the education, the criminalizing part and also the education part, because I get it. Sometimes you can only combat it, the criminal side, and you make people go more underground. And there's also, if you talk too much, people don't grasp it. So combating it at all levels is actually very important. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, I just wanted to I have a question.
Yes.
I think probably it's to you.
Immaculate will answer as she gives her final
Yes,
remarks.
please.
Yes.
Okay, she said something important about alternative rites of passage. But what I heard from her, it's like they only concentrate with the girl child. Is there anything that's done to the parents, the society, to just like divert their attention to see that there could be an alternative rite of passage? Or is just solely to the girl child?
To answer your question, yes, because the 200 girls that graduated from the program, the parents were there. The 2 final days they were there. And that's why actually the outcome of the numbers was big. They started to get it. They started now wanting their girls to get educated, because most of the time, they are circumcised when they are young, they're pregnant when they're in class 6, they are 14, she's pregnant. And you see your neighbor's girl, she wasn't. It's 1 out of 10. She wasn't circumcised. She's gone through high school. She's gone to campus. And now you're wondering, am I going to belittle my girls all my entire life? Are they going to go fetch water, firewood when others are in Nairobi? They are educated. She is a teacher. He is a doctor. Now that's when parents started getting that, oh, so it's possible. So although the awareness was too much concentrated on the girl child, it came to a point where now parents were brought in pole pole, and now they get it. Actually, while we were doing the program, can you believe that there were girls who had already undergone the cut, but they were there? Now, we had to talk to them. You advised on, it has already happened, but get your life. Don't you settle for less just because it happened. Go to school, graduate, get that degree. And they're banging it. They're doing it okay. The ones that we came out, we are actually doing fine. But most of them, again, you find, out of 200, 50 had already undergone the cut, 150 were clean. We go now 150 on the ground, and 100 didn't do it again, but 50. Yeah, because you're pregnant now and your parent does not support you to go back to school. What do? You needed to marry a neighbor. And will you go without the cut? No. For me now, I think to sum it up all, for me, for us to try at least get the 14% of the 86 from the marginalized to a little bit 50, I wish that the government could criminalize this thing, put a serious years of sentence when someone does that. Let's educate our girls, but also most of the time it's the parents. And now we need to bring in both mothers and fathers, because the fathers are the kings of these households. When they agree not to do it, the mother cannot do it, by the way. As much as, yes, women are the ones who chukuchuku chini, my girl, you need to get because now my dad cannot talk to me about FGM. It really doesn't come in. My mother will. But when I have the confidence to talk to my dad and tell my dad, I don't want to do it. If he says no, there's nothing a woman can do. So we need to bring our parents together. We need to really educate them. We need to talk to them. We need to let them understand. We need to talk to these kids and let them talk to them. I think there will be that sympathy when your child tells you, Dad, can we just not do it because of this and this and this? Yeah, so thank you.
Wow. Powerful. Mash.
Okay,
what will be your closing remarks?
My closing remarks, first I'll tell the Ministry of Gender in this country, you are sleeping on the job. The last time I checked the Gender Board, we wrote you a letter. Most of the international organizations have withdrawn funding. And now I'm looking at it, you have funding as a ministry. What does that funding do? We need to go to the ground. We need to use the organizations that are already established there to reach these people. We need to do community policing. Just as someone said, let us use Nyumba Kumi. Let us use the women groups available, the youth groups. The wazee meetings, the chief barazas. They'll help us enact this law. Now, as I'm looking at it, also the government of Kenya, we are sending a signal to you. In the next budget, we are keenly watching. How much are you going to award? And we'll do a spot check on our own as women of this country. Now we say, so many people are sleeping on the job in government. They want to sit in offices, they want to slay in office corridors, and nothing is happening on the ground. Ministry of Gender, I'm addressing you. Can you do something? Starting with the CS and PS. Thank you.
Thank you. Can do before Wamba.
My few remarks. Miaka ni 30. Fine ni tuseme hata 30 million pia. Na in as much as tunasema miaka ni 30, isikue huyu msee ashakeketo msichana. From just the whispers hapa kwa the secretive
just
places,
the intention of it.
Akwe ashatishiwa 30. Na vile Sharon amesema tukuwe na the police wenye hawa ndo ukiwaona tu unafikiria miaka 30 mi siwezi risk. So let me just niachie tu hii story inge imagine ikunywe maji hivyo. Otherwise it's a two-way traffic. Si women peke yake, we also need the work of the government. Each and every person has a role to play. Sana sana if we work tukiweka the men in the conversation, it's a two-way traffic. Thank you.
Okay, for me, 14% countrywide and 86% for the communities where it's highest. That's not a good indicator. We are not doing well, to be sincere. So we need to bring that down to 0. But all is not lost. I mean, when we look especially for those who are in the urban centers, there are things that are being done which are really commendable, especially the church. The church is doing good work. When you look at those boys, especially now circumcision for boys also, it's being done at the church settings. They also have alternative rites of passage for girls, and it's really commendable. It's work that is really helping us bring down the percentages. And also, we as parents, we as communities, especially those who are in the big towns and even in the rural areas, we should encourage our children and take them to these programs. Like where I go to church, I fellowship at Karura Community Chapel. When we are transitioning, and I also serve in the children ministry. When we are transitioning our children from Sunday school or Kisima, they go through a 1-year program of what we call VUCA, LOPS, this settling them, now transitioning them from Sunday school and telling them, guys, lazima mvuke hiyo stage ingine. And we teach both girls and boys, and I found this very effective. And I think our girls, they know, all those who have gone through VUCA, one, they know that you don't have to go through these cards. And the boys have accepted, yes, they are still girls, they are becoming ready, they are becoming responsible women, even without this. And yes, even when they move on to the next stage of life, they become less possible. Can we encourage this in our churches, even in our communities, even if your church does not carry out the programs? Look for churches, they are there. In this Nairobi, there are many who are doing that. And there's, of course, with a biblical foundation. Just to lap up, neither Christianity nor Islamic that supports FGM. I mean, Islam is very clear. They don't. For Christianity, what we know is that every human being is fearfully and wonderfully made in your whole self, even without undergoing the cut. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ruth.
Mimi naomba serikali ya Kenya through our president na ministry concerning hiyo ukeketaji iweze kuwafikishia masomo kwa zile katuzi ambayo zinaendeleza hiyo ukeketaji. Namba 2, serikali iweze kusisitiza kwa wale ambao wanafanya hilo tendo la ukeketaji wapewe adhabu kali.
Mwesh.
Yes, my take on female mutilation is that, one, there should be a very much civic education on the ground. Second, the government should raise the corporal punishment for those who are doing that, and also the children themselves. They should be taught when they are still young about the civic education, so that in case of anything, in case they sense something like they want to be taken to female mutilation, they should have a rescuing center where they can go and report or be rescued.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me end with you. Having listened to all this, as men, we have a place to play, the community, the parents as well. How will you close this?
I'm in concurrence with all of what they said. But to me, there is an allegory by Plato called the allegory of the cave about enlightenment. My thought will be, you see, one time you and I were in high school, right? I think one of the best. There was a time there was a lesson called sex education. Was it? Yeah. How about we incorporate it into the syllabus? Because the most effective way of getting hold of these people who practice these things is educating them from a younger perspective. Because for me, if you go to where I come from, the schools where these kids study and where they live is a very long distance. They go for boarding there for almost for one term and then come back home. How about you put it in the syllabus, in the educational syllabus, like an anti-FGM class from, let's say, grade 1 upwards? Probably it will have a ripple effect. Yeah.
So it's not just the Ministry of Gender, but also the Ministry of Education as well.
Because now FGM directly affects education. You know, the dropout levels of these girls, it's really hitting the Ministry of Education. Yeah.
Wow. Sharon?
Yes.
How would you end this? Should we just wait for another 2027
then have the
Day
same
of International and have the same conversation, or what should we look at as we end?
Right. For me, what I can say is like the national government needs to get more involved, and me included, need to stop fearing the consequences of going to speak to our communities. We should have courage, as much as it will have backlash, in which I'm practically never looking for a political seat. So for me, I can talk and talk. So yeah, voice your concerns on FGM, find ways to educate your parents and your grandparents and your communities. I think that's
But even for me, who is supposed to be a future governor of Samburu, I'll still speak very against the FGM, because
future means 2027 or
probably 2032 over there.
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather not be a governor, but I should not support things that are unfair to people. Yeah, I'd rather not get the votes, but let people stay with dignity as they are supposed to.
But you know, human beings naturally are very selfish. You can imagine the governor seat and speaking about FGM, the governor seat. You know, people are just naturally selfish. You cannot blame it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your input into this conversation. Thank you as well. I know this is very tough conversations, looking at tradition, culture, religion, and just calling on active stakeholders to really play their part. Both the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Gender, I think the message went out very strongly from Bilha. And then just even Ministry of Health as well. Because if some of these cats end up to death, then it also affects the health care of a girl child. And even boy child. It really needs to change their mindset on how they view girls and women within our societies. So asanteni sana. Tajipigia makofi. Thank you. Thank you so much. That has been Crosstalk, looking at FGM. You know, yesterday as we started this conversation was the International Day of FGM. And different communities globally marked this day. The target is zero tolerance of FGM by the year 2030. But the theme was very specific, that there is no end to FGM without serious investment and commitment to ending this vice. And I call on you, as somebody who has watched this program, maybe share it to your communities, to the network of your churches as well, because religion plays a critical role in making sure that we go through alternative rites of passage. And if your church, as we've been challenged, as a rite of passage, that is an alternative mode to the cut, why not reach to some of these communities? Why not reach to CRAWN Trust, an institution that is already working within these communities, and organize a conference, a seminar, and talk to the locals there? Because unless we talk about this, I doubt if we will end it soon, unfortunately so. Until next time, bye-bye for now.